Let's talk about something that, if you actually stop and let it sink in, is pretty wild. Mark Davis, the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, is personally sitting across the table to bring Tyreek Hill to Las Vegas. Read that back for a second, because it's not your typical sources say a deal is in the works kind of story. Owners don't roll up their sleeves and dive headfirst into player negotiations for depth guys or role players. That's just not how this league works. When the man at the very top of the food chain is the one making the calls, it tells you everything about the size of the number being thrown around, the caliber of the player being chased, and the very real belief inside that building that landing this specific guy is the difference between a solid football team and something genuinely terrifying to play against. Mark Davis picking up the phone for Tyreek Hill isn't just news. It's a declaration of intent. And to truly understand why it lands the way it does, you need the full picture, because the context surrounding it is absolutely everything. I've had a front row seat watching this Raiders rebuild unfold piece by piece. And before we even get to Hill, I need you to understand what was already in place before this conversation ever started. Fernando Mendoza is your quarterback. I'm saying that with zero hedging and zero asterisks. None of the wishy-washy he has potential talk that has followed this franchise like a bad smell for the last decade or more. This kid is the most mentally sharp, most genuinely composed young signal caller to step into this league in years. We're talking about a guy who walked into a film room with Kirk Cousins on the very first day of the offseason program. Not because a coach told him to, not because it looked good for the cameras, but because that's simply the kind of person he is. He shows up before anyone expects him. He stays long after everyone else has gone home. He treats every single learning opportunity like it could be the one that changes the trajectory of his career. That's not something you can coach. That's character. And that's the foundation everything else in Las Vegas is being built on. When you find a quarterback like that, your entire job as an organization becomes protecting him, developing him, and stacking enough weapons around him that his growth unfolds exactly the way it's supposed to, without being rushed, without being exposed, without being left out to dry. That's what this front office has grasped. And what they've built around him is already genuinely impressive before you even factor in Tyreek Hill. Ashton Genty in the backfield deserves way more than a passing mention. So let me actually explain what this running back does to a defense, because it goes far deeper than he's fast or he can take it to the house. Genty doesn't just rack up yards. He fundamentally scrambles the thinking of every defensive coordinator who has to sit in a meeting room on Wednesday and figure out how to slow him down. The moment a defense knows that any handoff, in any situation, any down, any distance, can turn into a 60-yard touchdown if a gap assignment slips by even half a beat, they have to commit extra bodies near the line. Adjusted safety depth, linebackers cheating toward the run. And every single adjustment made to contain Genty creates a new crack somewhere else on the field. He's not just a great running back. He is a structural multiplier. He makes everyone around him easier to use. In Clint Kubak's system, that quality is more valuable than almost any raw statistic you could print on a production chart. Then there's Brock Bowers at tight end, and unsolvable matchup. Problem is genuinely the most accurate way to put it. Linebackers simply cannot run with him. Safeties don't have the upper body to compete at the catch point. Corners are not built, anywhere in the league, to deal with his particular combination of size, burst, and football intelligence in open space. Every single snap, some poor soul on the other side of the ball is being asked to do something they are fundamentally not equipped to do. And Bowers makes them pay for it at a rate that would be remarkable for any player at any position in this league. He is one of the most dangerous offensive weapons in professional football at his spot, and he's wearing silver and black. Let that marinate. And then there's Max Crosby anchoring the defensive front. Still a nightmare, still relentless, still the kind of guy that shows up circled in red on every opposing offensive coordinator's game plan, which means somebody else on that defensive line is consistently getting cleaner looks and one-on-one opportunities all season long. As long as Crosby is healthy and locked in, there is absolutely no question about what this defense's identity is week to week. That's what walked into the draft. And that draft, I want to be crystal clear about this, deserves significantly more credit than people have given it. The Raiders went into draft weekend with something this organization has been badly missing for years: clarity. They knew their quarterback. They knew their scheme. They knew exactly the kinds of players that fit what Kubak is trying to build on both sides of the ball. And they understood that the picks after Mendoza couldn't be wasted chasing highlights or athletic freaks who didn't actually address real, specific, addressable gaps in the roster. Day 2 and Day 3 of the NFL draft are where rebuilds either accelerate or quietly fall apart. The Raiders didn't let them fall apart. Every selection after the first targeted something genuine, holes that opposing coordinators had already started circling and planning to attack. Not every pick will become a household name. That's not the realistic goal of those rounds. The goal is depth, competition at every position, and no obvious weak links that a smart offensive or defensive coordinator can exploit week after week. By that standard, this draft was a real win. Now, Tyreek Hill. Because this is the conversation that changes everything if it goes the right way. And I want to actually explain what Hill does to a football game, rather than just leaning on he's the fastest guy in the NFL and calling it a day. That's the easy answer. The real answer is more specific and frankly more mind-bending than that. Most receivers with elite straight-line speed are dangerous in predictable ways. They go vertical. They run go routes, deep posts, force safeties to respect the top of the coverage. Defenses have decades of film and experience accounting for exactly that kind of threat. Play two high shells, bracket with corner and safety help over the top. Take away the big play and force the offense to beat you in controlled, lower leverage situations underneath. Those answers work against virtually every elite speed receiver you can name. None of them work against Tyreek Hill. The reason is simple but devastating. His speed doesn't just operate at one level of the field. It operates at all of them simultaneously. A 5-yard screen pass becomes a 40-yard gain because no one in pursuit can close the angle once he hits open grass. A shallow crossing route that should be a routine 6-yard. Completion turns into broken tackles. And a score because the linebacker who was perfectly in position cannot match his acceleration through the second level. A quick out route that every defense in the league drills against becomes a 25-yard pickup because the corner in perfect position physically cannot turn and run fast enough to stop it. There is no such thing as a safe cushion against Tyreek Hill. Play off him, and he catches everything in front of you and makes you pay after the catch in ways that look genuinely unfair at full speed. Press him and you're gambling that your corner can stay in phase with someone who runs a legitimate 4.29 40. Bracket him with safety help, and you've just handed one-on-one matchups to every other weapon on the offense. Every defensive answer creates a brand new, unsolvable problem somewhere else. That's what makes him one of the most impactful offensive players this league has ever produced. Not just his speed, the impossibility he creates for the other team's entire defensive structure. Now put that inside this specific Raiders offense and think about what a defensive coordinator is actually staring at. You are already losing sleep over Ashton Genty. You know any run can go the distance if your gap integrity cracks for even a fraction of a second. So you're keeping extra defenders near the line of scrimmage. You are already scheming desperately to prevent Brock Bowers from getting isolated against your linebackers or safeties because you know exactly how that matchup ends. You have Kubak running play action off heavy run tendency, using motion and misdirection to create clean throwing windows, running RPOs that punish overcommitment to the run. And now, on the outside, in the slot, in motion, everywhere, Tyreek Hill is on every single snap, a game-changing threat from every single alignment. Where does your extra safety go? Who gets the bracket? Which threat are you choosing to simply live with today? There's also the culture question, and I'd rather address it plainly than skirt around it. The Miami situation got messy. Personality dynamics, public disputes, moments that reflected poorly on everyone involved and that are hard to simply set aside when thinking about fit. Locker room culture matters. It matters especially in a building being constructed around a quarterback like Fernando Mendoza, who sets the daily tone through humility, accountability, and genuine collective investment. The culture Kubak is building has a specific character. Whoever walks through that door needs to authentically add to it, not tolerate it, not perform within it reluctantly while operating by a different set of private rules. Actually add to it. Here's why I'm not spending significant energy worrying about that dimension of this pursuit. Kubak is the one driving this. The coaching staff is the engine behind this negotiation. Coaches who are genuinely building something real do not go to bat for players who are going to undermine what they're constructing. The fact that this is coming from the coaching staff level, with ownership support, tells me the internal conversations about character and fit have already happened. The Raiders are not chasing Hill with incomplete information. They're doing it with full visibility into who he is, what he brings, and what he's brought in the past. And they've concluded the answer is good enough to push forward. The timing of all of this is worth sitting with too, because it isn't accidental. This is happening now, post-draft, when the Raiders have total clarity about their roster that simply didn't exist back in February or March. They know exactly what the draft class added. They know what the cap looks like with rookie contracts baked in. They know where depth is sufficient and where it still needs attention. Pursuing Hill with this level of urgency at this specific moment tells you the internal math has been completed. The conclusion is that this move is executable without compromising everything else being carefully constructed. That kind of deliberate, sequenced decision-making reflects an organizational maturity this franchise has not consistently shown in recent years. If the deal gets done, if Tyreek Hill actually walks out of the Raiders tunnel at Allegiant Stadium in silver and black, I need you to actually picture the team we are talking about. Mendoza developing daily under the guidance of one of the most experienced quarterback mentors in the league, surrounded by legitimate weapons at every level of the field simultaneously. Genty making the run game a genuine weekly threat that no defense can scheme away without bleeding somewhere else. Bowers winning his matchup in the middle of the field with the kind of quiet, reliable dominance that has already become almost routine. Hill on the outside making every safety calculation impossible, every corner assignment a high-wire act, every defensive game plan an exercise in picking the least painful way to get beaten. Crosby on the other side of the ball leading a defense that got younger and more athletic through this draft, playing with the competitive edge that sets the standard for everyone around him. And Kubak orchestrating all of it from the sideline in a system specifically designed to exploit exactly this kind of talent. At nearly every position that matters on a football field, you are looking at elite or near-elite capability. That is not something you can say about many rosters in this league. It is definitely not something anyone has been able to say about the Las Vegas Raiders in a very, very long time. Step back and look at the distance this franchise has covered in 12 months. A year ago, quarterback instability that had become a genuine source of embarrassment. Defensive inconsistency that made every game feel like a coin flip no matter who was on the other side. Organizational uncertainty at every level, coaching, roster philosophy, ownership direction. The kind of team the rest of the league glances at with sympathy and keeps it moving. The kind of team that gets charitable coverage from analysts who just don't want to kick a franchise while it's down. Now look at what actually exists. A franchise quarterback secured through a patient, deliberate process that never wavered regardless of the external noise. A generational running back changing the maths of defensive game plans week after week. One of the elite defensive players in football anchored at the position where it matters most. A proven center locking down the most critical interior spot on the offensive line. A veteran mentor engaging his supporting role with genuine investment. A coaching staff with a proven record of building structured, efficient offenses around quarterbacks who thrive in systems. A draft class that addressed real holes with players who fit the culture. And now, at the ownership level, a personal push to add the most explosively dangerous receiver in professional football. That is not a team trending upward. That is a team that has arrived at a specific kind of organizational moment, the kind where the infrastructure is real, the talent is real, the coherence is real, and the only thing left to determine is whether the final pieces land before September kicks off. The Super Bowl conversation used to feel completely disconnected from reality when you attached it to this franchise. It doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels like the natural destination of a process that has been executed with more clarity and more discipline than this fan base has witnessed in years. Something genuinely real is being built in Las Vegas. And if Tyreek Hill comes walking out of that Raiders tunnel, the entire AFC is going to have a serious problem on its hands. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because we are just getting started.